when I was a little kid, like my childhood hero was Ozzy Osbourne. Whereas like some kids, they like cartoons and they like Superman and stuff. And for me, like I discovered Ozzy Osbourne, and it was kind of funny because I went to a Catholic school and they just didn't. I loved the whole. The way they kind of dressed up and the whole rock star thing. I just was always fascinated by that. When I was younger, I mean, I was really into like Metallica and Megadeth and Slayer and bands like that. I really liked the whole like thrash thing. And when I was 15, I discovered Rush, and then I just got like really, really, really into that, and like just got every Rush album and fell asleep to a different Rush CD every night. Learned how to play all the songs, and it's funny because when I was in high school, I had a Rush T-shirt for every day of the week, and I was kind of dorky, like people, I was like kind of a nerd in that sense, like oh, you like Rush, everything like that, and now you go into these stores and everybody has, they have all these vintage Rush shirts, and now they're like cool to like, I liked them when they were like you were kind of a dork because they're not, hip or popular or whatever. So, but Rush was just a big thing that inspired me to I started playing drums when I was 10, and like I said, I was influenced by you know like the heavy metal guys, and then Rush, I really got into the idea of like being a drummer's drummer, and learning like all the drum fills and the bigger drum kit and playing in difficult music. And then from that I discovered guys like Terry Bozzio and Mike Portnoy, um, guys that just that they really kind of really just were a big personality on the drums, not just the timekeeper. But at the same time, I liked just the real straight ahead players like Tommy Lee and stuff. I got to a point where I got so and I got really into progressive rock and progressive metal, and I was really really into that. And then I just got totally burnt out on it, and I quit all the technical stuff, and I just wanted to play really straight ahead. I went from kind of being just a kind of a progressive drummer who, kind of tried to play a lot, to really focusing on just being real solid and straightforward. And once I did that and really kind of dedicated myself to that, I started to get gigs, and I found that was a lot more beneficial. A friend of mine is this guy Mike Varney who owns Shrapnel Records, and I met him when I was like 17 or 18 years old, and he kind of got me in touch with people that I to start playing, doing session work and stuff. And I did like Michael Schenker, and I worked with the Marty Friedman from Megadeth for a while, and I did his first solo record after he left Megadeth, which was Music for Speeding. And Dean Castronova was supposed to do it, and he wasn't able to. So they kind of gave me a shot to do that, and I did the record, and it was a great experience. And that came out on when Steve Vai started his label Favored Nations. So, when Vi was looking for a new drummer, he had talked to Mike Varney, and Mike Varney recommended me. And so I kind of went down to the audition, and I didn't think I was going to get the gig. I mean, at the time, I was playing in like a little punk band, and I wasn't sure where my life was going. I wasn't sure what I was doing, and I just figured like there's no way I'll get the gig, but who cares? I'll just go down and I'll just be myself, which is a really beneficial thing. I was the first guy to audition, and I did it. And he called me the next day and said, welcome aboard. The gig is yours if you want it. And of course, I said yes. And that was just it was a really exciting time. And one of the things is it's one thing to get a gig, but the harder part is to keep the gig and to really I had a lot to learn. And one of the things that he told me when I first joined, he says, you have a lot of potential, but we need to work on your dynamics because, I was so concerned with hitting hard. And it's something I still like. I mean, to me, I'm a hard hitter. That's just my personality. I hit hard. But learning to have dynamics can make things even heavier. That's the thing. Everybody thinks that just loud is, but if you realize that dynamics are such an important part, ghost notes, the little grooves you play. I think that one of the reasons why the Steve Vai gig was good for me and why I fit in with it is that he wasn't looking for, he had Virgil Donati before and Mike Mangini, and he wasn't looking for that. He was looking for, because the bottom line is it's rock music. It's not fusion, it's not jazz. It's rock. But at the same time, it's technical. So what I really kind of tried to do was mix my love for like progressive rock and punk rock and to kind of like mold them into this one thing where it's like, and when I say punk rock, I mean just kind of like this punk attitude of like, I'm going to play how I play. And if you don't like it, I don't care. Like, this is me. You just have this, it's an attitude thing. If you're confident with how you play, then it's going to come across. If you're not sure, if you're, concerned, that comes across. It's a very difficult gig, but it's the most rewarding gig that I've done because it really, Steve pushed me and still pushes me to play stuff when it's like you hear a piece of music that you're going to do with him and record and you just like, there's no way that I can do it. And he really taught me to go section by section, piece by piece, and slowly you kind of repetition, you dissect each little thing and eventually you get it. And a lot of guys will listen to it and say, there's no way I can do it. I'm not even going to try. There is a way to learn anything. You just have to take it section by section. And that's how the band rehearses and that's how we record. So, and anything else I do now, once having that idea, like that's how I'm able to learn music. It's just piece by piece. Some people are cut out to like be on the road and be on a bus and be traveling. Some people they don't like it. They don't like that, you don't know if there's going to be a shower every day. You don't know what the catering's going to be. You don't like sleeping on a bus, stuff like that. For me, I love the road. I'm just one of those people that was just kind of, I feel very at home on the road. Like especially with Steve. I mean, we do an hour and a half sound check, and then we do a 2.5 hour show. So my day is structured. I always just try to get as much sleep as I can, and I just kind of relax, or I'll go for a run or whatever, and then sound check, and then the show. And you kind of have this organized life, which is good for me because I'm not good with downtime. I like being busy. I like traveling, and I love performing. I like doing studio stuff, but to me, like performing is why I got into this in the first place, and it all makes it worth it. Having a healthy lifestyle is important being on the road. I think a lot of, that whole thing of, the cliche being on the road, partying and backstage, and, it doesn't, and it depends with different bands. Like with Billy Idol, we stay in 5-star hotels every night. We don't even ride on the bus. We ride somewhere and then we take a private plane somewhere. It's, but with Steve, it's like, do 7 shows in a row or on a bus every night. And I like that better. Steve is always working. So when we do sound check, basically we're recording our sound checks because we'll write songs during sound check. He'll come up with an idea, he'll have a part, we'll do it, we'll record it, and then we'll also run over some songs that we're going to play that night. So it's not just a sound check. I mean, it's like so by doing that, that's been great because learning to kind of like write songs on the spot and come up with ideas and improvising and trying things, on the spot is great. And I think it's good for me. And then, kind of doing all that playing kind of gets me warmed up. So when we do the 2.5 hour set, I'm kind of ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what's happened lately is that so much stuff is quantized and sampled. And it's just like, and there's a lot of metal stuff that, it's like, I think it would sound so much cooler if it wasn't so sampled. It just doesn't sound real. Like, to me, I want to be able to close my eyes and actually imagine the drummer playing. That's why I like Meshuggah. It's because the drum sound is natural. And like Gojira, it's like the same thing. It's like they're not trying to like sample everything. And like these, it really recording now it's so different than like the first progressive band I was in, Dolly's Dilemma. We recorded to analog, and it was different then. You can't judge somebody's playing ability on when you hear a record now, because they can just do so much stuff to it. Groove is something that you can't quantize that. Like one of my favorite bands is Rage Against the Machine. And to me, it's so great because if you listen to it, like, there's like this flow to it and there's space to it. And you cannot put that on a computer. You can't put that on a grid. There's like this natural flow to it. Whereas a lot of this other stuff, like, some of the metal stuff, it's like they line up the bass drum so every hit's with the distorted guitar, and it's just this thing of there's no breathing room. And that kind of like, I don't know. I prefer it when sometimes when you imply the notes but you're not actually playing them, you can feel them. Or it's like what Steve Gadd does. It's like, when they say it's like it's not what he's playing, it's what he's not playing. It's the same thing, there's that same concept. one of the things that I really like doing is mountain biking, and I'm from Northern California, where it actually was invented, and I got really into that a few years ago because I needed to have something else besides music. But I'm a very physical person, I'm very kind of hyper, and people feel like your passion has to be the way you make your money and and that's what making it is. And I, you know, it's so hard. The music business is so tough, and I'm very lucky. I'm very fortunate that I've had gigs and everything like that, and kept them, because it's a tough business, and I think if you're in it to make money, then you're in it for the wrong reasons. So I just try to look at my life as, not what I do for a living, but just doing what I love doing, and I could love, doing something that was different. It's all about the mentality that you have. When I was a kid, I played Tama, and I always loved Tama because, like, all my favorite drummers used them. Um, I remember Randy Castillo from Ozzy's band had a Tama kit, and I always wanted to play Tama. So they've been, and Steve Vai obviously plays Ibanez, so Hoshino, that was definitely a help getting the endorsement because with that, and because of that, they've been really really good to me, and I've gone over to Russia a few times and in Spain to do drum clinics, from Tama, and Australia and stuff, and I like doing clinics and stuff, and Tama has just been they've been a really really good they've been really good to me, and I've always loved their hardware too. I always loved the Iron Cobra bass drum pedal and all their stands and stuff, and so I like that. And then Sabian is another great company, because they make a lot of great cymbals. They have a lot of different types of cymbals that I like, and they're always having new ideas, but they just also make great. Like, they make one of the rides that I like to use on particular things because it doesn't work all the time. It's like the Power Bell ride. It's like what Vinnie Paul from Pantera used, and it's just this big sound, and I love that. And Chris Stanky, the artist guy at Sabian, is just another. He's a great dude. And Chad Brandolini with Vader drumsticks. I've been with Vader the same amount of time, and it's another guy. And to me, it's like artist relations is a really important thing. It's about, like, I want to be with a company that I don't care if they make the best stuff. If they're not cool to deal with, and if if you try to call and you can't get a hold of somebody and you have to talk to the secretary or whatever, I want to, like, it's more important that I have a good relationship with them, and that's what I like about the companies I endorse. And Evans Drumheads, they've been really good to me. Steve Lobermeyer is great, and he's just like, I really like the bass drum heads that they make, and just all the drum heads that they have. They're another company too that's really pushing and trying different types of things. So I really like that. So yeah, and then what else? Yeah, those are my endorsements. I don't know. LA is it's a it's an interesting city because you can, I don't know. I don't particularly um, subscribe to a lot of the mentalities that people in Hollywood have. There's a lot of people that are out for themselves. There's a lot of people that just want to be famous. The thing with drummers, I don't know. There's like some camaraderie thing there. Um, John Tempest is a friend of mine, and he's just one of those guys. That's just he's cool. Like there's not a competition. Well, guitar players are. It's like there's all this comp. Who's better? Who's better? But like drummers, I don't know. There's a little bit more camaraderie. I lived in the Bay Area in San Francisco for so long, so I don't. I mean, you get to LA and there's a lot of people that know each other, and you kind of get into the whole scene. But I just kind of do my own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like a lot of heavy stuff, but I like heavy like groove stuff. I don't, I'm not into again, it's groove. Like to me, example like Rage Against the Machine, to me that's they're so heavy because there's a groove to it. Heavy is not just like fast double bass stuff. There's a lot of different stuff I listen to. I like there's a lot of heavy music that I do like now, like Gojira. I really really like them, and Meshuggah, of course. I mean, they're innovators of a whole style of music. One of my favorite bands is Seven Dust, and Morgan Rose, who's a friend of mine. It's just I've always been a fan of the band because again they're heavy, but there's a groove to it, and then I like stuff that's that has no drumming in it. It's just really mellow acoustic music. Sometimes it's like I'm playing drums all the time. Like sometimes I want to listen to stuff that's just really mellow. It's hard, man, because like to me when I listen to music, I want to listen to like songs. I'm just it's hard for me to get into. I think going and watching that stuff is cool, and maybe I could broaden my horizons by listening to some more of the jazz fusion stuff. But to me, I'd rather like just crank out something really heavy and just that's just because that's just me. That's just my personality, But I am trying to broaden my horizons a little bit and try to branch out and listen to some more experimental fusiony jazz stuff. But I'm a rocker, man. So learn to be comfortable playing with the metronome. you know. And people have different opinions about that. Some people, oh, don't play with a click. It takes away your whatever. I mean, I'll tell you right now that if it wasn't for the fact that I dedicated hours and hours and hours of time to playing simple beats along with a click track, I would not have gotten the Steve Vai gig. I would have not have gotten the Marty Friedman gig. I would not have gotten the Billy Idol gig. At a certain age, I said, I'm not gonna try to be Thomas Lang or one of those type of dudes. I want to be able to like just be real solid and just, focus on that. I would go into my practice room and I would have my click track going, and I would just play the simplest beats, just go, and it's like, oh, but that's so easy, I'm gonna, I got it. I'm gonna try and move on to the next thing. But if you sit down and you really dedicate, you say, for 1 hour, I'm gonna play with the metronome and just do that. No fills, nothing else. And you learn how to like do that, and you learn how to put your personality into that as opposed to just playing it. That has been, without a doubt, the most beneficial thing for me as a professional musician. With Steve, I play like, we have some, like, there's some of the newer songs, that we do have there's some metric modulation stuff, and there's some odd time and odd groupings and stuff. But my goal has always been to play that stuff, but to still play it like I'm playing an AC/DC beat. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, I can do the Steve Vai gig and I can do the Billy Idol gig. And people go, well, those are such different gigs. But when I sit down and play, my mentality is the same. I'm just trying to be consistent and hit hard and, focus on that. It's not like when I get into one gig, I think I got to wear a different hat for this. It's the same thing. I can do that because Mike Portnoy's a friend of mine. I love being out here in Greece, and this is a lot of fun, and I'm very lucky in my life you know, to be healthy and alive and playing and doing what I love. I'm very, very lucky to be there, and I feel very fortunate and grateful, and you know, what an incredible life I get to live. Where every day I wake up, I was just in Turkey playing a show. It's like one day you're in Istanbul, next day you're in Greece, then you're in Sweden, and then you're in Spain, and then you get to do what you love every night, and you get to meet people, and you get to be with a great family, and the Steve Vai band is just it's such a family, and I just feel really lucky, and I love being able to do stuff like this. I love being able to I love talking about drums and kind of saying what's helped me and what's been beneficial to me, and again, I'm really lucky. So thank you guys. This is Jeremy Colson for YouGroove.